Insane twist. Billionaire adopts girl who asks, "Will you be my dad?" Only 7 days old. On a stormy night in Los Angeles, the kind where the clouds swallowed the moon and thunder rattled windows, a bizarre event unfolded. A billionaire, known for his cold precision and ruthless business dealings, found himself at an abandoned hospital. Rain lashed against the building like a warning, but he didn't take care. Inside, he discovered the world's tiniest miracle, an infant girl left alone, wrapped in a frayed, worn blanket. Her wide, innocent eyes seemed to search for something or someone. What made this moment even stranger? The baby, just a week old, lifted an arm towards him as if sensing his presence. "Will you be my dad?" she cooed, as if she understood every heartbreaking syllable. The billionaire blinked, the air thick with disbelief. How could a so-called father figure even exist in his world? He heard the whispers of friends and foes alike playing in his mind. Would they think he had lost his marbles? In the days that followed, the billionaire became obsessed. The media storm swirled around him. Headlines splashed across newspapers, speaking of his instant change, almost as if love had swept away his hard shell. People whispered about the mysterious past of the child. Some said she was cursed, a child of fate who could bring ruin. Others believed she was a divine messenger. Then, one evening, as he rocked her to sleep in his mansion, an unexpected knock echoed through the grand halls. The door opened to a mysterious figure, cloaked in shadows. "You shouldn't keep her," the stranger warned. "There's more to her than meets the eye." Just those words sent chills down his spine, leaving doubts clawing at his heart. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. He barely had a moment to breathe when the stranger vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a lingering, icy silence. Had he imagined it? Or was there truth in the warning? Determined, the billionaire sought answers, digging into the child's past. What secrets lay hidden beneath the surface? As uncertainty twisted in his gut, he realized this was just the beginning. Was he destined to be the doting father, or just another pawn in a game larger than he could ever grasp? The night loomed heavy with questions, and the wind howled, ushering in something unseen. The days crawled by, each heavy with unanswered questions. As he paced the lavish halls of his mansion, the weight of the stranger's warning clung to him like a fog. The baby, whom he had named Grace, slept soundly in her crib, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing outside. But was it truly blissful? Was he bringing her into a world that could shatter her? The headlines continued to shout from every angle. Some celebrated his new role as Dad of the Year, while others dragged his name through the mud, suggesting he had lost his mind completely, perhaps hoping to fill an emotional void deep within himself. But part of him didn't care about the noise. All he wanted was to ensure Grace's safety. He turned to his trusted assistant, Mark. "I need you to dig deeper," he stated with an urgency that left no room for doubt. "Find out everything you can about her. Where did she come from? Who left her?" Mark nodded, his brow furrowed with concern. "I'll start right away," he replied. With Mark on the case, the billionaire felt momentarily relieved. But as night fell once again, a creeping sense of dread settled over him. The house, once a sanctuary for lavish parties and business deals, now felt like a vast, echoing cavern. Every creak of the floorboards sent chills racing down his spine. When he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the shadows danced mockingly. His mind refused to rest. Images flashed before him. The mysterious stranger with eyes filled with warnings, images of Grace's tiny face, and whispers of doom surrounding her very existence. What do they mean? What could she possibly bring into my life? He muttered into the darkness. Suddenly, a soft cry broke through his thoughts, slicing through the tension like steel. It was Grace. He bolted upright, his heart racing. He rushed to her nursery, where the soft glow of a nightlight cast flickering shadows on the walls. "Hey, little one," he said gently, lifting her from the crib. What's the matter? Did you have a bad dream? As he cradled her close, he felt the warmth of her little body against his chest. For a fleeting moment, a wave of peace washed over him. But as he looked deeper into her eyes, he noticed something unsettling. There was an awareness in her gaze more than any child should possess. It made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Could it be? Could she truly hold some sort of power or secret? The winds howled fiercely outside, pounding against the windows as if they were echoing the chaos in his mind. Then, abruptly, the lights flickered and died, plunging him into darkness. Panic swelled in his chest. "Mark!" he shouted, though he knew he was alone. He fumbled in the dark, desperately trying to navigate the room with Grace clutched to his chest. Just as he reached for the door, something cold spun his soul. The feeling of being watched crept into his bones that a soft, whispery voice filled the silence. "You shouldn't keep her." His breath caught as the shadows twisted before him. Was it the same figure from before, or was his mind spiraling into madness? In that moment of overwhelming fear, the power of his commitment to Grace solidified. "No, I'll protect her. Whatever it takes," he yelled defiantly into the dark. But just as the words left his mouth, there was a sudden crash, and the windows shattered with a vengeance, sending shards of glass swirling like a whirlwind. The storm outside erupted, but he could have sworn the roar was not just the wind. And then he heard it, a child's laughter, soft yet menacing, echoing through the chaos. It was her laugh. It reverberated in his head, hinting at secrets buried deep, what darkness was awakening. He tightened his grip around her, a wave of determination flooding his veins. Would he be able to shield her from whatever was coming? Would their new bond endure the looming threat? As everything around him began to collapse, one thought raced through his mind: what secrets did Grace truly hold? He stumbled through the debris-laden room, chaos swirling around him like a tempest. The echoes of shattered glass and thunderous winds merged into a nightmarish symphony that grasped at his sanity. Grace, nestled against his heart, cooed softly, her innocence contrasting starkly with the turmoil. Somehow, in this mad world, she remained a beacon of purity amidst the darkness. "Stay close, baby. I won't let anything happen to you," he whispered fiercely, clutching her tighter. Yet, his voice trembled, betraying the fear that clawed at his insides. With a shaky hand, he reached the nursery door. Outside, the hallway stretched like a labyrinth, filled with shadows waiting to pounce. Each echo of his footsteps trembled against the barely there walls. He paused, straining to listen, heart hammering in his chest. The laughter had faded, but the eerie whisper lingered in the air, curling around him like a serpent. "You shouldn't keep her." He could not afford to lose control now. He willed strength into his voice, calling out, "Mark, if you're here, answer me." But there was only silence, heavy and suffocating. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the dark corridor, each click of his shoes amplifying the tension surrounding him. Ahead, a flicker of light danced, a fleeting promise that pierced the gloom. He turned toward it, hope igniting in his chest. As he edged closer, the light expanded into a surreal glow, illuminating a figure at the far end. The stranger stood there, his features obscured by a cloak of shadow, but the glint of his eyes flickered like candlelight, drawing him in. "Do you wish to know the truth?" the figure asked, voice smooth but laced with an unsettling resonance. "Grace is not merely a child, she is the key." "The key to what?" he snapped, gripping Grace protectively against him. "What do you want from us? You are not the first to adopt her, nor do you have the will to protect her as fiercely as you hope." A rush of cold air washed over him, chilling him to the bone. Unease coiled in his belly. "What are you talking about? Who else wanted her?" But the figure only smiled cryptically, as if savoring a secret locked away. "Others will come looking for her. Not just in this world, but from places you cannot imagine. She's a link to something beyond." A surge of anger mingled with despair pulsed through him. "I won't let anyone take her. She's mine." The stranger's expression darkened, a menacing edge slicing through his calm demeanor. "You have no idea what you're truly up against. The storm will come for her, and it will mark you both. Remember, hiding won't save you. Only she can." The glow flickered again, illuminating the room momentarily, and for just an instant, he caught sight of something behind the figure. A darker shadow loomed, undulating like smoke, thickening in sinister anticipation. Before he could react, the light extinguished, plunging him back into the soul-draining darkness. Grace's tiny hands jerked as the weight of an unseen force wrapped around them, squeezing fear into his heart. He couldn't breathe. "Grace," he cried out, twisting in panic, desperately searching for the source of the danger. It loomed closer, an oppressive presence filling the very air. The nursery door banged shut, leaving him trapped, alone with his thoughts, the whispers bearing down on him like 1,000 suffocating hands. Clutching Grace tightly to his chest, he prepared to face whatever horror awaited. The night had only just begun, but the storm inside was nothing compared to the calamity headed their way. What power did Grace truly wield, and could he uncover the truth before the darkness claimed them both? The darkness closed in around him, a thick blanket that stifled his breath. He turned in frantic circles, his heart pounding like a war drum. Grace's soft cooing had turned into a soft whimper, as though she sensed the danger swirling in the air. Panic surged within him. He needed to protect her, but he couldn't see where the threat was coming from. "Stay with me, little one," he breathed, attempting to calm both Grace and himself. His fingers trembled against her tiny frame, the warmth of her body reminding him of the hope he desperately clung to. Suddenly, the air shifted. A whisper brushed against his ear, sharp and chilling. "You're too late," it taunted, echoing in the confined space. He froze, muscles tense, ears straining to identify the source. Just as he thought he might scream out again, the lights flickered back on, too bright and glaring. Decimating the tranquility he clung to, he blinked, staring at the figure now standing in front of him, more defined than before, but still draped in shadow, an elusive specter. The stranger's eyes burned, glowing like embers and drawing him in against his will. "They will come for her," the stranger intoned, voice thick with foreboding. "You must prepare." "Prepare? For what?" His voice cracked with frustration. "What do you want from us? Who are you?" A menacing smile curled the stranger's lips. "I am the harbinger of what is to come. Grace is not an ordinary child, as you've been led to believe. She plays a role apart in the storm that's brewing." The impact of the words hit him like a gavel, sending his thoughts spiraling. "You're lying. She's just a baby." But even as he said this, doubt gnawed at him. Grace had always been different. Even from the day she entered his life, the day he had held her against his chest like a fragile dream in a world gone mad. Different? Yes. A vessel of potential and peril, the figure replied, his voice resonating throughout the room, as though the walls themselves were repeating his words. The sound erupted from somewhere beyond, a crash, splintering wood and glass. It jolted him, an instinct kicked in. He backed away, fear squeezing at his insides. "Who's there?" he shouted, cradling Grace tighter, her small form trembling against him. "I'm just a messenger," the figure said, his tone slipping back to that unsettling calmness. "But time is running out for you both. They can smell innocence, and it drives them mad." All at once, shadows began to shift across the walls, dancing like fingers reaching for him. He felt the temperature drop, every breath regretful as the air warped into dread. "You're lying," he spat, desperate to hold on to sanity. "You won't take her from me. You think shelter and fury can protect you." The stranger stepped closer, and the smell of charred wood and decay drifted from him. "You are blind to what lies ahead." In that moment, the full horror of his situation crashed down on him. There was no escaping this. The choice wasn't just about him anymore. It was about Grace. He had to fight for her life. Fight through this madness. Suddenly, the door creaked open with a heavy groan, revealing a hooded figure looming in the threshold. A darkness dripped from them, like oil seeping into the room. "Time's up," the new figure hissed, and in that instant, the air buzzed with a toxic energy, crackling through the space like an electric storm. He felt a crushing weight in his chest, desperation clawing at his throat. The choice came crashing down once more. Save Grace or confront the malevolence threatening to consume them. He braced himself, the stakes higher than ever. But before he could act, the lights flickered back out, plunging them into disorienting darkness once more. As small hands gripped him tighter, his heart raced not just with fear, but the looming question that echoed in his mind. What if the truth was worse than the chaos he had already faced? Darkness swallowed them whole, But it wasn't just absence of light, it was the chilling presence of something waiting, watching. He could feel Grace's small breaths hitch, her body vibrating against him. This wasn't just fear, it was survival instinct, a primal alarm ringing inside his chest. Suddenly, the air stilled. It felt like the climax before a storm. Each second stretched, an eternity unraveling around them. He could almost hear the pulsating rhythm of his heart, echoing in the silence, urging him to make a choice not out of fear, but out of sheer will to protect. Then, with a terrifying crash, the lights blared back on, illuminating the room harshly, revealing not just the stranger, but now the hooded figure advanced carefully, a predator obscured beneath layers of fabric. Shadows twisted around them like hungry serpents, and dread flooded him. "What do you want?" he shouted, holding Grace even tighter, her tiny fingers instinctively gripping his hand, her whimpers now rising into frustrated cries. The hooded figure paused, tilting its head slightly. "What we want is what she carries inside," the voice rasped, almost mocking in its tone, as if relishing the tension in the air. "What are you talking about?" "She is just a baby." Panic scratched his throat, but his voice trembled with uncertainty. Grace was more than just an innocent child. She was a target now. The reality rumbled in his mind like thunder. "That innocence is a magnet," the figure responded, stepping closer, revealing a glint of what seemed to be eyes glowing beneath the hood. "Draws them like moths to a flame." Suddenly, the stranger who lingered previously undefined, now very much present, shuffled forward, shaking his head disdainfully. "You really don't understand, do you? She can tip the balance. There are forces ancient, relentless who want her." A chill washed over him. Every fiber of his being screamed for escape. Not just for him, but for Grace. Who? What forces? He demanded, though part of him feared knowing. The stranger leaned in. Their breath reeked of smoke and despair. "The wraiths. They've been waiting. For her, for you. And time is slipping away like sand through your fingers." His gut twisted as he remembered the hollow whispers he'd heard, the ones that promised darkness, the ones that coiled around his thoughts, squeezing until he gasped for air. "What do you mean, waiting?" He pressed harder, every instinct telling him to run, but that wasn't an option. Not now. Not while Grace was in danger. The hooded figure suddenly lunged, quick and nimble, a darkness pulsing around its hand. He reacted instinctively, swinging his body in front of Grace, preparing himself as if he could physically block whatever malevolence lay ahead. "You think shielding her will matter? When the shadows come for her soul?" It was a sneer, a display of contempt towards his futile attempts. "No," he roared, the ferocity surprising even himself. Hell, he would fight tooth and nail if that's what it took. In that heartbeat, something shifted like a ripple across time. He felt the very air grow thick, pressing against his skin, an unseen force crushing down as an angry howl whispered through the cracks of the walls, searching for an entry point. He couldn't breathe. Panic clawed through his chest. "I'll never let you take her." The truth? It didn't matter. All that mattered was now, while shadows writhed and clawed, while danger echoed around them. But the sinister grin that split the hooded figure's face told him this was only the beginning. "You may want to rethink that," it hissed, a promise drenched in malice. As the energy in the room shifted, dark shadows leaned closer, and he felt the ground tremble beneath him. What horrors awaited in the depths of the night beyond the door? Would he find power or something darker than he could have ever imagined? The shadows loomed larger, wrapping around him like velvety fingers seeking to snuff out the last flickers of light. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but the ground felt like a prison, anchored by the terror that threatened his daughter. Grace's frightened whimpers pierced through the thick, suffocating silence, fueling his determination. "Stay back," he bellowed, voice breaking the stillness, thick with desperation. He felt like he was shouting into a void, but the presence of the hooded figure only drew closer, thickening the air between them. Agony twisted in his gut. He would not let her be their pawn. If sensing his resolve, the figure offered a rasping, mirthless laugh. "Brave words, but you're merely a vessel for the storm that's about to break." And then it struck, the full force of what loomed over them. The very essence of nightmares distilled into a palpable fear. The deeper shadows twisted together, forming shapes more solid, more defined. Wraiths. Just as the stranger had said, twisted faces and hollow eyes emerging from the darkness like lost souls from a forgotten realm that he couldn't think. All he felt was an all-consuming need to protect. With one hand, he gripped Grace's tiny fingers, her innocent heart beating in sync with the chaos around them, and with the other, he clenched his jaw, steadying himself. I won't let them take her. In that moment, a writhing shadow lunged, uncoiling like a snake from the murky recesses, aiming for Grace. Adrenaline surged through him, igniting a fight he didn't know he possessed. He swung and knocked it back, the chill of its essence seeping into his skin, freezing him to the core. Foolish man, the figure taunted, voice dipping low like a serpent's hiss. You can't save her from what you cannot even comprehend. A sudden rush surged from somewhere deep within him, bubbling up and igniting a flicker of defiance. He locked eyes with the figure, conviction pouring through him. Then help me understand. What do you want? What is she? The sound of his own voice startled him. It was raw, filled with an unexpected power. The figure's head tilted, interest sparked beneath the hood's veil. She is a beacon for the wraiths. Her very existence is the key to a realm you dare not imagine. With that, shadows rippled and trembled, the forms of the wraiths twining in a sinister dance, urging them closer. There was a familiarity in their movements, an uncanny recognition that clawed at him like a distant echo of his own childhood nightmares. But the shadows drew back, coiling like a wave preparing to crash. We are not alone, the figure intoned ominously. Time is of the essence, and on the morrow, the wraiths will breach our world. Even now, they gather for her. Fear turned him cold, but somewhere deep inside, frustration welled up. Then we need to go. Now. Whatever you want, I'll do it. His pleas hung in the air, tinged with desperation and a burgeoning dread for the time slipping away from them. Do not mistake your desperation for strength, the figure intoned, its voice thick with disdain. The moment has already been set in motion. Seek the sanctuary beyond the door, but be warned. It leads to either salvation or oblivion. Suddenly, the walls shuddered. Cracks spiderwebbed across the surface, dark tendrils snaking outward as the dangers beyond clawed at their sanctuary. Sweat beaded his brow as he grasped Grace tightly, scanning the room for exits and for hope. What happens if I don't? He asked, heart racing. Then they will take what is rightfully theirs. And you will never see her again. An icy grip enveloped him, but amidst the encroaching darkness, a flicker of resolve ignited. The choice was before him: run or stand and fight. As the ominous sound of shattering glass echoed behind them, the hooded figure stepped back, mouth curving into a grotesque smile. Choose wisely, mortal. Time is not on your side. With the first wraith lunging toward them with an insatiable hunger, he had to decide. Face the darkness or plunge into the unknown, which path would lead him to the truth about Grace? Would he find the answers he sought or stumble deeper into the abyss that had always been waiting? The moment hung heavy in the air, shadows impossibly dense, suffocating hope. With the wraith lunging, instinct kicked in. He didn't hesitate. This way, he yelled to Grace, darting toward the only visible exit, an archaic door that loomed ominously at the far end of the room. That he pulled her along, every fiber of his being alert to the icy breath of the wraiths trailing them. The hooded figure seemed to fade into the chaos, its laughter echoing hauntingly. Your fate lies within, it screeched, chilling him to the bone. As they approached the door, a scream tore through the silence, a blend of agony and rage. He glanced back just in time to see the silhouette of another wraith, its ghastly maw peeling back, eyes blazing with a hunger that scrutinized him as if he were the last meal it could ever consume. That he sprinted the last few steps, wrenching the door open with a force that splintered the old wood. The hinges shrieked like tortured souls, echoing through the chamber. He stumbled into the unknown, dragging Grace through the threshold just as the first wraith lunged, its claws snatching at shadows. They hit the ground hard, rolling into what felt like a dizzying spiral of light and darkness, a churning void that swallowed them whole. When they came to a stop, the air was suddenly still. They lay sprawled in an alley, damp cobblestones beneath him, far removed from the haunted room they'd escaped. He scrambled to his feet, panic rising as he searched for Grace. Grace, he gasped, heart thudding in his chest. Daddy. Her soft voice reached him, and relief washed over him. She clutched her teddy bear, eyes wide with wonder, oblivious to the peril they just faced. He knelt, wrapping his arms around her. "I'm here. I'm so sorry." His voice cracked, pulling her into a tight hug. The rush of the moment faded, but he could still feel the shadows of the wraiths lurking nearby, intangible yet palpable. But where were they now? The alley was narrow and damp. The smell of decay hung in the air. Broken bottles littered the ground, and a rusted dumpster loomed in the corner like a forgotten monument. "Where are we?" he muttered, glancing around with caution. The walls were lined with old bricks, remnants of a bygone era. What had they stepped into? Before he had time to fathom his surroundings, a low growl echoed from the darkness beyond the alley. A figure emerged, one silhouette shifting into another, moving toward them. It was human, but the voice that followed was not. "You shouldn't be here, child," it hissed, and his stomach twisted into a knot. "No," he shouted, stepping protectively in front of Grace. "Stay back." The figure paused, a smile creeping across its face that reveled in malice. "Your daughter is far more important than you understand," it crooned, voice dripping with a sinister sweetness. "And your journey has just begun." He felt a deep tremor in his chest as the weight of those words settled upon him. This wasn't merely a place of escape. It was another layer of the nightmarish reality closing in on them. "Run," he commanded, yanking Grace's hand. They turned, darting deeper into the alley, but the laughter of the approaching figure resonated around them, echoing off the damp walls. Shadows flickered at the edge of his vision, and every instinct screamed that they were being hunted. They turned another corner, eyes darting for anything that could help them escape. Suddenly, Grace pulled back, her face pale, shadowed by something darker looming above them. "Daddy, look." He couldn't process the panic rising inside him as he followed her gaze. Above them, a figure clung to the wall, anguished eyes burning fiercely within a network of night. "Time turns, and fate draws near," it whispered, the promise of doom weaving through the air like smoke. Every emotion surged within him, a desperate need to protect, to run, to understand the horror unfurling around them. "We're not going back," he shouted defiantly into the abyss, ready to face whatever lay ahead. But the looming threat of the wraiths, and now this new entity, tightened his chest. "Run, Grace," he barked, shoving her ahead of him. "We can't stop now." They dashed forward, the darkness swirling, alive with whispers that clawed at his mind. What lay ahead? Could he ever truly protect Grace from the darkness that sought her? "Follow me," he urged, lungs burning with every desperate breath as they leaped into the shadows of the unknown, the echo of chaos creeping ever closer. Would they survive whatever had awakened in this place? Or would the shadows finally claim what they desired most? The alley narrowed as they ran, the damp walls closing in like the jaws of some great beast ready to swallow them whole. He could hear it, the soft thud of footsteps behind them, growing louder as the darkness pulsed with anticipation. Grace stumbled slightly, but he tightened his grip on her hand, pulling her closer as they fled deeper into the shadows. "Keep up with me, Grace," he urged, glancing back just in time to see the glimmer of eyes, feral and fierce, piercing through the darkness. It was a promise of what lurked in their wake, a relentless terror that hungered for them. They rounded a corner and found themselves confronted by a dead end. A towering wall of crumbling bricks loomed ahead. There was no way out. Panic surged anew, squeezing his heart in a vice grip. "Come on," he shouted, desperation flooded his voice. "There has to be a way." Breathless, they pressed their backs against the cold brick, trying to catch their breath. The growls grew closer, a cacophony of dread that invaded his senses. Think, he muttered to himself. He had to protect her, nothing else mattered. But his mind was foggy, clouded by the tight grip of fear that surged with every heartbeat. Grace, still wide-eyed but brave, spoke softly. "Daddy, what if we can't get away?" He looked down at her, light flickering in her delicate features despite the shadows encroaching. "We will, Grace. I promise." The words felt like a tether to keep them from plunging into despair, even as a cold sweat trickled down his back. He scanned the alley, searching for something, anything that could work as their savior. Suddenly, he noticed a faint glimmer above them. The remnants of an iron fire escape jutted out, its rungs rusted but still sturdy. "There," he pointed, urgency surging in his veins. We can climb. Without waiting for hesitation, he hoisted her up, her little fingers gripping tightly as she clambered onto the first rung. His heart raced as he followed, feet finding purchase on the jagged metal. The growls morphed into a guttural roar, the sound reverberating like an ominous drum as Grace climbed higher. A shadow flickered at the alley's entrance. The figure from before the one that had cornered them stalked closer, its smile widening. You think you can escape this destiny? It taunted, voice slick with honeyed malice. The darkness always finds what it seeks, just a little higher, Grace. He shouted, desperation fueling his words. He could see her trembling. They reached the top of the escape, and as they crouched in the shadows, he held his breath. The figure below raked its claws against the sidewalk, snarling in frustration. It could smell them. You're not safe up there, darling, it called softly, like a mother beckoning her child. Come down, and we can play. Daddy, I'm scared, Grace whispered, her small voice tinged with terror. Stay quiet, sweetheart, he murmured, holding her close. The grip of fear was tangible, but he had to lead them through this. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, but this time it wasn't just the figure below. It echoed off the walls, multiplied by unseen mouths in the void. The darkness was alive, hungry, aware of their fragile position. Where do we go now? She asked, trembling, her innocence shattered by the reality of the night surrounding them. He met her gaze, trying to muster a reassuring smile, yet the weight of impending doom hung on him like a lead cloak. We'll find a way, I swear it. Just hold on. But time was short. The creature began climbing the fire escape, its movements fluid, almost graceful as it ascended. The laughter shifted, dark and gleeful, chilling him to his core. Daddy, it's coming. Grace cried out, terror bursting from her small chest. In that moment, as he saw the figure drawing closer, time seemed to slow. What could he do? He could feel the walls of hope crumbling around him. The laughter echoed in his ears as their fate loomed near, and he grasped for options that eluded him. The choice was stark in an instant. Jump, he urged, adrenaline surging through him as he prepared to face the menace below. Just trust me. And then, with one final, desperate leap, he propelled them both off the fire escape. Would they rewrite the outcome, or had he sealed their doom in that fateful decision? As they descended, laughter turning more sinister, he could only hope that the darkness wouldn't claim them yet. They hit the ground hard, the cold pavement jarring his bones and making him gasp. Instinctively, he rolled to protect Grace, clutching her tightly as they tumbled into the alley's embrace. In a heart-stopping moment, they skidded to a stop, shadows wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. Breath was pulled from his lungs as he scanned the darkness, knowing the danger hadn't vanished. The laughter echoed ominously, a twisted promise that they were not alone. Stay still, he whispered, feeling Grace's small frame shiver beside him. He could hear her heart thrumming wildly, a fragile bird beating against the cage of fear. He focused on the sounds around them, the rustle of trash, the scrape of claws against brick. But the laughter was alive, thrumming in the air, a reminder that something was hunting them. Suddenly, from the haze of darkness, the figure appeared again, its silhouette slick with shadow, teeth glinting in the pale light of the street lamp. You thought you could jump into safety? It teased, voice dripping with mockery. The tone sent ice racing through his veins. He had to think fast. His mind raced, flickering between panic and instinct. A few feet to their left, an old dumpster loomed, the kind that offered both concealment and a potential weapon. Grace, we need to move, he said, channeling urgency into every word. With one swift motion, he pushed himself to his feet, still holding her tightly. Hold on to me, he commanded, pulling her along as they darted toward the dumpster. Each step felt heavier, as if the air thickened around him, laden with dread. As they ducked behind the metal, he quickly assessed their surroundings. The figure was now snarling, its eyes gleaming as it stalked toward them, a predator closing in on its prey. The weight of danger settled on his shoulders. He was the shield meant to keep Grace safe. With a primal instinct kicking in, he grabbed a loose metal rod from the dumpster, his heart pounding like a drum against his chest. If it comes for us, I'll fight it off. Just stay quiet and trust me, he instructed, his voice trembling but resolute. Grace nodded, eyes glistening with fear, but also resolve. I trust you, Daddy, she breathed, the innocence in her voice somehow grounding him amidst the chaos. The creature paused, tilting its head as though it could sense the shift in the air. The laughter stilled, replaced by a low growl that reverberated through the alley. He glanced around, assessing the best escape route as he felt the shadows lengthen around them. Look for the way out, he urged her, squinting through the darkness. They needed a plan, and fast. The growl returned, rumbling deeper as the creature prowled closer, taunting them with its presence. Before he could reiterate the urgency, something caught his eye. A faint light flickered at the end of the alley, an open door, partially ajar, beckoning like a lifeline. There. Grace, do you see that? Yes. Her voice was a whisper, full of hope and fear. Without losing a moment, he tightened his grip, ready to dart toward the promise of escape. We can make it. On my count 1, 2, 3. They bolted from behind the dumpster, moving as one, hearts racing in unison. But the creature was swift, eyes gleaming brighter as it lunged. The air crackled with tension, the scent of fear palpable. Just when he thought they were out of reach, a sharp pain pierced his shoulder as a claw glanced off him, slicing through fabric and skin. He gasped, but there was no time to dwell on it. Run, Grace. They surged forward together, the door looming closer, its promise of safety aglow like a beacon. But just inches away, the creature's growls rumbled again, this time merging with the haunting laughter that echoed in the alley. As they reached the threshold of the door, time stretched painfully. Would it be their salvation or the depths of a new nightmare? With one final push, he flung open the door and thrust Grace inside, hoping that whatever awaited them next would drag them back into the dark. But what shadow lurked behind them, ready to follow as they crossed the threshold into the unknown? The door slammed shut behind them, locking out the chaos, but not the fear that pulsed in his veins. He stood in a dimly lit room, heart pounding as he scanned their new surroundings. Cracked walls, remnants of peeling paint, and a single flickering bulb struggled to cut through the shadows. But the growls of the creature faded, replaced by a heavy silence that enveloped them. Daddy, what was that? Grace's voice trembled, wide eyes searching his face, searching for answers. He knelt down to her level, forcing a calmness he didn't feel. I don't know, sweetheart, but we're safe, at least for now. He brushed a lock of hair behind her ear, trying to shield her from the horrors bending at the edges of his mind. But doubt clawed at him. This place felt wrong, too quiet, as if the walls were listening, anticipating their next move. Something flickered in the dim light. He turned slowly and found another door, slightly ajar, holding the promise of escape or more nightmares. Let us see what's in there, he whispered, pulling Grace close. She nodded, clutching her teddy bear as they crept forward. The floor creaked beneath their weight, but he pushed his fear aside. Stay behind me, he whispered, heart racing. As they pushed the door open, it swung slowly on its hinges, revealing a staircase spiraling downward into darkness. Down? Grace asked, hesitating as shadows pooled at the bottom. He swallowed hard. Yes, we have to keep moving. They descended, every step echoing ominously, breathing the stale air thick with something indescribable. As they reached the bottom, the air felt electric, charged with the presence of something unseen vibrating with anticipation. The room opened into a vast chamber, faintly lit by an ethereal glow that bounced off the walls, yet kept them trapped in twilight. In the center sat an altar, ancient and adorned with new, glossy offerings, twinkling strangely against the darkness. As they stepped further, the darkness peeled back, revealing more figures, beings, hunched and cloaked, with haunting eyes that glistened in unison. What are they, Daddy? Grace whispered, trembling against his side. Just stay close, he murmured, panic churning within. He readied himself to shield her at a moment's notice. The figures turned toward him, their gazes locking onto Grace. She is the key, one rasped, voice like gravel crunching beneath feet. No, he shouted, stepping protectively in front of her. You can't have her. The lead figure tilted its head, the gesture disquietingly human yet filled with malice. The storm has come. It is time to fulfill her purpose. No. He could feel his heart hammering as he fought the urge to bolt. What do you mean? She's just a child. Not just any child. It hissed, and the chamber vibrated with its ominous tone. She carries the light, the beacon that draws the wraiths. The old powers demand her. The shadows shifted closer, encroaching upon them. Grace squeezed his hand, her teddy bear nearly slipping from her grasp. "Leave us alone," he yelled, desperation fueling his words. She's innocent. She didn't ask for this. The creatures laughed, a sound echoing off the walls, sinister and cruel. Innocence often attracts danger. You cannot shield her from what she is meant to face. "Enough," he shouted, desperation morphing into fury. "I'll fight whatever it takes." From somewhere deep within, a surge of strength ignited. He could not let her be taken. Not after everything. The figures recoiled slightly, some even stepping back as though feeling the weight of his resolve. But there was no time. The laughter of the wraiths grew louder, the darkness swirling like a tempest. "Run, Grace," he commanded, grabbing her hand and sprinting through the chamber, heart racing in rhythm with her tiny feet. They darted past the altar, shadows crawling toward them, eager for the warmth of life. His heart thrummed wildly. The thought of losing her struck a primal nerve deep within. Ahead, a tunnel opened, flickering with an otherworldly light, tantalizing like a lifeboat amidst chaos. They pushed forward, the pull of the light, reducing the darkness behind them like a cold breath giving way to warmth. As they entered the tunnel, a piercing scream echoed behind them. They didn't dare look back. Grace clutched his hand like a lifeline, binding them together in this consuming chaos. "Keep running," he urged, breathing hard, feeling the shadows gnawing at their heels. The tunnel twisted, alive with eerie sounds, whispering promises, temptations to surrender, to let go. He gritted his teeth, refusing to yield, pushing through the haze of fear. The light grew brighter ahead, dazzling, beckoning like a star. They surged forward, reaching the end, an archway glowing with pure light, spilling over like hope unleashed. At the threshold, he paused, glancing down at Grace, who looked up at him with trust mingling with fear. "We can make it," he whispered, voice thick with urgency. "Together. On 3. 1, 2." As he counted, the shadows screeched, slithering forward like a tide determined to reclaim them. 3. Together, they sprang through the archway, the blinding light enveloping them. In an instant, they were thrown into a world ablaze with color, warmth flooding their senses as the chaos dissolved into dawn. They found themselves in a sunlit field, wildflowers dancing on the breeze, a striking contrast to the horrors they had just escaped. "Daddy?" Grace's voice broke through his daze, trembling as she took in their new surroundings. I think we're safe." It was hard to breathe, hope surging within him like a tidal wave, lifting the weight of despair clear. Suddenly, a gentle breeze rustled the flowers, carrying whispers that floated on the wind. "The storm has passed for now," a voice echoed sweetly. "But remember, sweetness attracts shadows. Stay close." He turned, eyes wide, searching for the source. An ethereal glow appeared beneath the towering tree, guardians of the light, holding ancient wisdom in their eyes. "Your journey isn't over, but you have persevered. Strengthen your bond, for you will need it." He nodded, hope bubbling anew, feeling Grace's small hand tighter in his grip. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together," he promised, wrapping his arms around her, sealing their resolve. They stood firm in the embrace of light, prepared for whatever paths lay ahead, but the shadows would be watching, waiting for their next move. Together, they had conquered the storm. Now they would stand against the darkness, side by side. Through every challenge that dared to cross their path, as they breathed in the sweet scent of morning, another adventure on the horizon. He couldn't help but smile. Their past lived in the shadows, but their future was ablaze with light, the bond between a father and daughter unbreakable. And while peace enveloped them now, he understood all too well darkness never truly sleeps. But they were ready. Now, it's time for you to step into this journey with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the next heart-stopping adventure. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ride and what you think may come next. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep this incredible journey going together.